So he brought people like this. He brought the descendants of Abu Sufyan back to power. People like Muawiyah. And when you trace these down history, you find this is how Muawiyah came to rule over Syria. He was appointed as a governor of Syria by the second Caliph Umar. Now here is what I'm trying to show you. That the Prophet ﷺ fought the Quraysh all his life. He diminished and weakened their power and broke their back. He did this on the basis of his most sincere Sahaba, the Muhajirun and the Ansar. Because he argued on this basis and he relied on this basis that as long as we have taqwa and iman and we put our trust on Allah, we don't need the social status and the standing. We can rely on our trust in Allah to fight our enemies. For some reason, the Caliph Abu Bakr, instead of following that policy and saying, we as Muslims, following our sincerity and on the iman and taqwa of the Ansar and Muhajirun, we shall spread Islam, he went back to the old Quraysh leaders and said, we need your help to build Islam. And they obviously came in, but some of them, you may not judge them thus, but the Shia judged them that, came in with now ideas of expansionism, taking land, building power, and restoring wealth. The Quraysh had fought the Prophet not because he said there was one God. They fought the Prophet for economic reasons as well, because Mecca was an economic powerhouse. People used to come from far and wide for pilgrimage to Mecca and offer gifts to the idols and put gold on the idols and so on. They told the Prophet, we can add your Allah to our 365 idols. The problem was not that Allah was being emphasized. The problem was that the idols were being opposed. Now when their back broke, their eyes must have lit up. They must have thought, well, now we can't make money through the idols, but now we can make money this way. I am probably being a little unfair for those who think of Muawiyah and Yazid as Sahaba, but nonetheless, this is our understanding as the Shia. Now, when they came into power, there was a lot that went wrong. Karbala would not have happened if Muawiyah had not become the governor of Syria. If the early caliphs would not have allowed the Quraysh to come back to power and would have kept their role at a minimum and relied on the household of the Prophet and realized that in all the battles Allah gave us victory through Ali bin Abi Talib and we can rely on the Ahlelbayt and the sincere Muhajirun and Ansar, then many things would have happened. One is that Islam would not have been accused of spreading by the sword. Secondly, there would have been guidance from this sincerity. And you will see when I talk about the Khilafat of Amir al-Mu'mineen that he was accused of not being wise politically because he was asking there were people who advised him that until you consolidate your power, don't start writing letters and saying to Muawiyah, stop being the governor and you come off the governorship and you come off the governorship. But he said, no, they all have to step down. Ammar Yasir will be my governor. Salman Farisi will be my governor. He was sending people who were not politically experienced to be the governors of different lands. Why? Because in Ali's understanding of Islam and the Prophet, leadership must remain with those who have taqwa first. They will learn the political ropes in time and not by politicians on whom you will rely to become muttaqi, which they will never will. Because what is at stake here is not temporal rule, but Islam that is to remain forever on the earth. So this is something we will try and develop as much as tomorrow will allow, and we shall see where this goes. The other issue, and I will conclude with this, that was disastrous in the Ummah is that the Khilafat and the government of Abu Bakr downplayed the role of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Immediately, for example, Fadak was taken away, and there was an argument between the daughter of the Prophet and Abu Bakr. Sahih Muslim and Bukhari have reports from Aisha herself to say that Fatima alayhi salam came and asked my father for her right to Fadak and other inheritance. And my father said to Fatima that I heard the Prophet saying that we prophets are not inherited, nor do we inherit. And then she says, Fatima remained angry with my father until she passed away. Now, there are many ways in which our Sunni brothers and sisters explain this. Some of them have said there is only one report that says she was angry. Most of them says she was silent. So all it means is she never spoke to him, but it doesn't mean she was angry with him. Others say that Abu Bakr went to see her and he kept talking to her and explaining her and, trying to make her feel better until she was pleased with him. But the point is, even if you argue she was pleased with him, he still did not give her what she was demanding, which means if you judge that case, then it means that wal-iyadhu billah, she was wrong in her claim, or she was lying in her claim, that the Prophet had given this to me in my lifetime, and the Caliph was right. Now, for the Shias, the issue is this, that the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam's tahara and isma is vouched for in the Quran, in the ayat of Tathir. And therefore it was wrong for the Caliph to ask Fatima that bring me witnesses as proof. The Quran has given you that proof. This was not an ordinary person asking you and saying, oh Abu Bakr, this is my right. This is the daughter of the Prophet. The ayah of Mubahala, from which the Ahlul Kisa are defined from ayat, the ayat of Mubahala says, bring your nafs, bring your women, bring your children, and the Prophet only took Ali, Fatima, Hassan and Hussein. He didn't take anyone else. And we are told in the books of the Muslims that when the Christians of Najran saw the faces of these 5 individuals, they refused to engage in an imprecation in the Mubahala. And they said, by Allah, we see such faces in front of us, that if they were to pray to God for mountains to move from their place, mountains will move from their place. These are Christians who are seeing the Ahlul Bayt only once. And Fatima alayhi salam's face is covered. But they can see the radiation of Noor.